Hello and welcome to the Triad News. I'm Lana Williams.
And I'm Katie McKenna. Coming up next, reactions to last night's election and a behind-the-scenes look at the election coverage.
But first, Triad News weatherman Todd Uckermark has first look at our weather. Todd?
Well, thank you, ladies. Well, because of daylight saving, it's been getting darker earlier, but it has not been getting cooler yet. We're still sitting around the 60s, but I'll tell you what the weekend's looking like coming up soon.
Thanks, Todd.
Voter turnout is up 4.7% this year all around the country. The United States appears to be on the verge of a record-setting voter turnout Tuesday as people on all sides of the political spectrum flock to the polls.
Well before voting sites even closed on Tuesday, election officials reported long lines and shattered voting records, the final exclamation mark on a tumultuous yet riveting presidential campaign. Donald Trump will be inaugurated the 45th President of the United States on January 20th, where the relentless and heated campaign that aimed at the institutions and long-held ideals of American democracy ended Tuesday night. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer, Mr. Trump told supporters around 3 a.m. on Wednesday at a rally in New York City, just after Mrs. Clinton called to concede. During Trump's victory speech, he mentioned that Hillary called the Trump Organization and congratulated us. It's about us on our victory, and I congratulated her and her family on a very, very hard-fought campaign. I mean, she fought very hard, Trump said. Trump won 26 states, including Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Florida, and Ohio, just to name a few, and his running mate Mike Pence has this to say: "This is a historic night. The American people have spoken, and the American people have elected their new champion."
It was a wild election. Keeping up with election is hard enough, but behind the scenes in a news studio is even more wild.
Triad News reporter Todd Uckermark was behind the scenes at local news studio Fox 8 in High Point to cover the story of just what goes on to keep up in a news studio.
Hey girls, thank you very much for having me tonight. Well, I was able to go and visit Fox 8 and see the behind the scenes of the studio and the inner mechanisms of that enterprise of trying to fulfill the election night coverage. There's so much information coming in and out of a news station, not only polling requests, but social media updates, and they're trying to bounce off the other ideas of the other competitors, trying to see what they're doing, trying to make sure they're staying on top of everything. And if you didn't know, last night was a historic election. Just the mere sheer change that it could like effectively implement on our country is just wild to think, and seeing how that actually affects like a news operation was just a great source of information.
It looked pretty busy, Todd. Can you give us a few more details about your overall experience in the studio?
Yeah, it was really a hectic night. I was able to talk to a few of the workers there at Fox 8, people behind and in front of the camera, to see how they kind of felt about the night and how it went. And as you can see, they were going to tell you that it was a wild night.
Oh, it's election night. It's very busy. You know,
Like he
we're going to have
pointed behind you.
numbers coming in all night. It's a very busy night in the newsroom, so everyone's here.
The newsroom right now seems pretty intense. I think people are watching the results come in. We're just starting to hear about the first states. We know that Hillary Clinton won Vermont. We know that Kentucky and Indiana went to Trump. So everybody's waiting for some of these more decisive states, the ones that are more likely to be caught in the middle, to actually announce some of their results.
I don't really know how it's going to be taken, but I mean, we'll know one of them will be a winner, so you never know. I mean, you could have to do a recount and it could take a couple weeks. I mean, you just never know.
Boy, it could be really close. I mean, we know coming in that some of these projections lean in favor of Secretary Clinton, but Mr. Trump has been challenging in a lot of these places, and frankly, the numbers are pretty closely divided. So, you know, we have people from the campaigns out there saying that it's so closely divided that we may be here until early in the morning.
Thanks, Todd. That seemed like a great experience. Democrat Roy Cooper has claimed victory in North Carolina's tight governor race early Wednesday morning, but incumbent Matt McCrory has conceded, saying all the votes have not been counted. This has been a hard-fought race, but people of North Carolina have spoken, and they want a change in leadership in Raleigh. Cooper said, "We are confident that these results will be certified and that they will confirm victory." McCrory's reputation has been tainted by the aftermath of the HPU law requiring transgender people to use bathrooms corresponding with their gender on their birth certificate. Cooper gave a victory speech to his supporters around 1:30 a.m. after being announced as North Carolina's new governor.
Another one of our Triad News reporters, Scott Hardesty, was also at Fox 8, but you talked to some of the students, right, Scott?
Yeah, I did. So I was there, and I was talking to some students. Well, they were there for Brandon Lenore's class. He was here a couple shows ago. He has a class called Public Opinion. It's in the poli-sci communications crossover major. Students were there collecting election data for local races, the Senate, House, and presidential. Like all that data comes in, and students were like refreshing the pages over and over again, looking for any changes, making sure everything was where it should be and everything was right. While I was there, I interviewed some students to see how crazy the night was and what they thought of the atmosphere while I was there.
We're here tonight at Fox 8 News. It's going to be pretty interesting. Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work with an election like this. It's going to be great.
I think it's a very unique experience. This is a very unique election cycle, so I think it'll be interesting to watch how everything turns out. It's definitely a really close election, and I'm just excited to be here.
I'm looking forward to a presidency with Trump. We're here tonight.
I was really surprised.
Correctly predicted the outcome of the election. He's been saying Trump's going to win it for a long time. But I also, me and my friend Todd went out. We talked to Todd a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
We went out and got some interviews for some people on campus to see their reactions of the election this morning when they woke up and saw that Trump had won the election. Let's see what they had to say.
I was really surprised. Now hopefully all the turmoil and everything and all the stuff is popping up on my phone and all the radio broadcasts and everything about everybody's dirt from each side. Just get pressed forward now. Just see what happens. I don't know how to really feel about it. It's different though. I woke up this morning with surprise. I definitely woke up this morning and was very surprised.
I'm very shocked. I'm very surprised. Very surprising. I expected Hillary to completely blow Trump out of the water. But hey, what happens, happens.
I think every change is good and everything is going to be okay. We just have to stick together. Remember that we are Americans, no matter who's president.
Well, very interesting stuff, Scott. Thanks.
No problem.
Not everyone was happy with the turnout of the election. Those already being treated less than mediocre are finding it hard to cope with the quality of life getting any worse. Triad News reporter Deja Ross has more on the story. Here with us, we have reporter Deja Ross, who interviewed minority voters about this election. Deja, what'd you find out?
Well, hey Lana, minority voters have been frustrated with the election, but they're trying to stay hopeful for the future of this nation in the next 4 years. Americans have watched the presidential election for the 45th president of the United States of America. This has been such an upsetting presidential race, and voters are voicing their opinions.
I feel like either candidate, both have valid points. Either one isn't suitable for presidency.
Minorities have expressed their concern for the state of the nation and are anxious to see how the results of this presidential election will affect them over the next 4 years.
It's a lot more than just Republicans and Democrats. It's thrown in with racism and harassment and just a lot more than what we normally see in a usual the usual election for the presidency. As a minority, his policies, the way he speaks alone is just terrifying to not only me, but everyone of color, everyone who isn't a citizen of the United States, but trying to be citizens, everyone who works their butts off, but they think that we still don't work or that we only try to feed off the government, but yet you don't pay your taxes.
I kind of hoped and was thinking that our country was we'd been through enough in the past to realize that we need to kind of move forward from here and not take the steps back that Donald Trump has clearly campaigned.
Donald J. Trump, with the upset, has won the presidential election with running mate Mike Pence by his side as vice president.
Donald Trump wins the presidency. The business tycoon and TV personality capping his improbable political journey with an astounding upset victory. Donald J. Trump will become the 45th president of the United States.
I am truly scared for what this nation is going to become.
Here.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more. This is Triad News.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Get caught buzzed driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom. It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Back to Triad News, I'm Lana Williams.
And I'm Katie McKenna. With all the holidays and the election grabbing all the headlines, it's easy to forget that Veterans Day is November 11th. Triad News reporter Patrick Sabranowitz introduces us to a World II vet whose days are surrounded by beauty and solitude. Mr.
Rise.
Rustling leaves, birds chirping, a quiet place nestled in the evergreens, the sounds of water echoing up from the lakefront. A 91-year-old Edward John Kennedy finds peace at his Northern Lake George cabin. Born October 24th, 1925, during one of the most difficult times in this country, he knew early on what it meant to have to fight for your life. The Great Depression left Mr. Kennedy and his 3 siblings having to contribute to home life far earlier than any child ever should.
Well, I was 17 when I was in. I think I was 20 when I got out.
At just 17 years old, Mr. Kennedy was given a rifle and a government-issued license to kill.
We were shipped down to Greensboro, North Carolina.
Mr. Kennedy often finds himself reliving the moments that define him today.
We used to fly 2 days, go to a schooling 2 days, and then have 3 days off.
But this wasn't all classrooms and vacation time.
After about the 5th or 6th raid, that they felt that we were ready for something like that, and there was a load of flak and a load of fighter planes. That's when I think we had 390 planes up there dropping incendiary bombs on Tokyo, and we later found out that there was over 100,000 people killed, children and women and children and old men.
Mr. Kennedy shares the story with a sense of leisure. With all the bombing raids that Mr. Kennedy went on, one has to wonder.
I mean, how does it make you feel when that happens? I mean,
Well, at that time, when I was 19 probably, we were in a war, and the idea was to kill people or be killed.
Something that is asked frequently in our world today is, what about after the war?
Did they appreciate what I did? Well, nobody ever come up and said, you know, we really appreciated what you did. They just accepted the fact that that's what you had to do.
Mr. Kennedy has never shared his war stories with anyone before. Patrick Sabranowitz is Mr. Kennedy's grandson. Mr. Kennedy and his fellow vets from World War II, the stories are more important to share now than ever before. The deadly gas pipe explosion in Alabama last week was expected to leave a trail of disarray. The pipeline is vital to southeastern United States. The explosion was projected to produce gas shortages and send prices through the roof. Much to the surprise of the Triad region, gas prices have not surged like expected. Instead, they remain steady and even.
Staples, the successful office supply chain, is currently launching a student loan repayment plan that gives $100 a month to each eligible employee for 3 years. During the initial stages of the program, managers and those in leadership positions will offer the benefits to top performing employees within the company. After the program matures, benefits will be extended to other employees. The program was established as an incentive for potential Staples employees. Sometimes it's just easier without the band.
And sometimes the songs are much more fun with a group.
Triad News reporter Amanda Crow knows firsthand about a cappella singing. Amanda?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging without that background music to keep you going, but if you just put a lot of effort into it and listen to each other, it really can be a rewarding experience. So Acapalooza is no exception. That event just happened last weekend. There were 9 different a cappella groups from around the state that came to support Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and it just never ceases to amaze me how many people we can get to turn out to these events. So many HPU events are free on campus. This one is not, because your ticket goes towards the philanthropy, and it's still a packed house. So let's take a look. Pop music, collegiate a cappella, and philanthropy. What better way to start off your weekend? The 3rd annual Acapalooza Festival kicked off Friday night to support Children's Miracle Network hospitals. And this year, the event was bigger than ever before. 9 different groups from across the state came to support the cause. Groups from HPU, Elon, App State, and more rocked the stage.
We're here at Acapalooza 2016. It's an event that the Fine Youth Sorority is putting on at High Point to benefit their philanthropy, and they invited a whole bunch of acapella groups from the area, and we're going to sing for the kids.
And it's taken hours of practice, and for many groups, hours of driving just to get to High Point. The Sisters of Phi Mu Sorority host this event in Hayworth Theater every fall. And it's all to save the lives of children with terminal illnesses and chronic diseases.
Honestly, I think I'm just really happy to be part of an event that is affecting so many people that really need this money. And it's also really great to know that when you look out into the audience, you're seeing the faces of people that you're helping.
The best part? Everyone in the audience got to see where their money was going.
She can only hear with a hearing aid. She's blind in one eye. She has some major neck problems. The biggest thing that was noticeable is that Kennedy was born without a right ear.
Kennedy, a little girl at Duke Children's Hospital, comes every year to share her story. Her family tells how the doctors and nurses go above and beyond to care for her. It would have been easy for Kennedy to get discouraged, but for the doctors at Duke, that isn't an option. As Kennedy's mother explains, Duke Hospital has been there for their family every step of the way.
And thankfully, Duke Children's Miracle Network Hospital was there for us and saved Kennedy's life, not once, but twice.
A great event makes you smile, cry, and laugh. And that's exactly what Acapalooza is all about. It really is like such a rewarding experience for everyone involved. As you can see, Kennedy and all the children at Duke's Hospital and other Children's Miracle Network hospitals, they get something life-changing out of it. The a cappella groups get something out of it because they get to see other groups and network and get their name out there. And then of course for the audience, they get to just take a night and enjoy the show really. So.
I mean, I was really touched when Kennedy's mom was talking about her daughter's condition. I mean, what's it like when you're up on stage knowing that you're performing and it's helping a child?
Absolutely. It's the most amazing experience ever. I'm a sister of Phi Mu, and they're the one who hosted the event. I get to see all year round where my hard work and my money is going because we work closely with Duke Hospital, but for other people, they don't get to see it all year round, so it's a really rare experience for the other a cappella groups and for the people who go to the event to get to see where their money's going. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. The money raised will go to support Children's Miracle Network hospitals. We'll be right back after the break with the upcoming week of weather and more. This is Triad News.
It's harder whenever there's a bigger group. Pretty much a good day for me would be people leaving their hands off of me. I'm always called names. Everywhere that I go, there's always someone calling me names, calling me gay. I've been choked, thrown up against a wall, punched. Nobody's ever tried to help me.
Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
I'm Katie McKenna.
And I'm Lana Williams. The temperatures have certainly cooled off recently, and the fall colors are out in full force.
Overnight, it's getting down into the 30s. We even had a frost warning last week.
Triad weather person Todd Uckermark is here to let us know if we need our winter parkas yet. Todd?
I would say hold off on the winter parkas just for right now, because if you're looking out to the national weather map of the forecast of the coming through, you can see in the west it is kind of chilly, low 60s up near Seattle, Washington, everything up there near Oregon. As you come down, obviously near Mexico, you can see that it starts getting hotter in your 90s. As you move in through the center of the country, you can see it's sitting pretty steadily anywhere from mid to low 50s all the way up to the 70s, but not peaking anywhere towards the 80s. It is getting colder and colder as it goes by, but if we look to the North Carolina state weather map, we could see that it's actually sitting around the 60s for right now in Raleigh, Fayetteville, Wilmington. It's getting a little colder up near the mountains, up near Sparta and Asheville. But if you look at the 5-day weather forecast, if you pull it up, you could see that throughout the weekend, it's going to stay in the 60s, dropping below into the 30s for the night, I'm sure, just when it's getting a little colder because of daylight savings time. But out in the sun, I'm sure that you could still stay warm, and I do not think that you need those winter coats just yet, but maybe throw on the sweatshirt. It's nice autumn weather out there.
I love fall. I mean, the cooler weather. I love all the leaves changing, the colors.
I know, it's definitely been a beautiful fall, but I'm definitely not looking forward to the cold weather and the winter that comes next.
Who knew that having color thrown on your face could be so much fun, and that it could actually raise money for a great cause? This past weekend, High Point University's Sigma 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 sorority held their second annual Sigma in Color Run with over 90 participants. The participants ran a 2-mile course around the campus. At each station they visited, they were covered in a different colored powder. The event also served as a sisterhood event benefiting the Tri Sigma Foundation as well as March of Dimes.
Passengers on an Air Mexico flight to Mexico City found themselves in a sticky situation when a snake fell out of an overhead bin in flight. The Sunday flight had made a quick landing and animal control took the snake into custody. The airlines say they are investigating how this extra passenger got onto board without a ticket.
$250,000 worth of crack cocaine was discovered in a trash pile near a school bus stop. Police received a tip 5.5 pounds of crack was located in the woods in Catawba County. Officials say they found cash, crack, scales, and several other items. Parents are furious, and so far no arrests have been made. It will be interesting to see how the game does on the market. We have to go to a short break. We will be right back with our local High Point Panthers news. Don't go away.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Welcome back to Tri News. I'm Katie McKenna.
And I'm Lana Williams. We are joined here by Patrick Duffy to give us the inside scoop on more local sports news here at High Point. So Patrick, how are our Panthers doing?
Well, thanks, Lana. Welcome to HPU TV Sports. I'm Patrick Duffy. The men's soccer team kicks off postseason play this Wednesday at home against Campbell in a semifinal matchup. HPU finished the regular season with a record of 11-3-4. The Panthers' Siggy Beyonson was named Big South Freshman of the Year for his stellar play this season, leading the team with 24 points. After beating the 5th seed Longwood in 1-0 in the semifinal of the Big South tournament, the women's soccer team lost to Liberty 2-1 in overtime in the championship game. The Panthers finished the season 13-6-2, the best finish in program history. The volleyball team is back in action, taking on Gardner-Webb in Presbyterian College this weekend at Millis Gym. These are the final 2 games before the Purple and White begin the Big South Tournament next week in Lynchburg, Virginia. The men's basketball team will begin its season this Saturday against Everett at home. High Point welcomes 3 freshmen to their team and is looking to replace standout John Brown. Last Wednesday, the women's basketball team defeated Lenore Rhines 74-57 in an exhibition matchup at Millis Center. Sophomore Emma Bockrath led the Panthers with 18 points and 9 rebounds. HBU hosts the Ohio Bobcats in their season opener on November 13th. The women's golf team finished their season last weekend at the Preview Tournament. The Panthers finished in 3rd. Freshmen Tonrak Tassaso and Samantha Vaudry earned top 5 finishes, the first in their careers. That's all for sports. I'm Patrick Duffy.
Thanks, Patrick. We'll be back with more. This is Tri News. Don't go away.
Get caught buzzed driving, and you could do some hard time.
Craig, knock it off.
Sorry, Mom. It could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. And that could set you back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to Triad News. I'm Lana Williams.
And I'm Katie McKenna. For the first time in history, more users last month accessed the web from mobile devices like their smartphones and tablets than they did from desktops or notebooks. Data released by StatCounter last week says 51% of all web visits last month came from mobile smartphones. While there were never any doubt that society had been moving towards a decidedly mobile-oriented world, mobile internet usage is rising faster than perhaps most people would have assumed, and will only keep rising from there.
Well, that's about all we have for this week. Thank you for joining us with Triad News. I'm Lana Williams.
And I'm Katie McKenna. Good night, High Point.